Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi and today we are going to take a look at the SUQQU holiday kit. I have the blue kit. There's a blue one and a purple one. This is 131 Rikka and this was gifted to me by SUQQU. Thank you so much. And then today we're also going to take a look at the Katie Jane Hughes. She has recently launched her own makeup collection. She has one item available so far. It is a set and it's the Hyper Shine Highlight set. So I have the light pink and it comes with a brush, a serum essentially. This is a high shine serum and your colored pigment. And we'll talk about those as well. Now let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start off with the SUQQU. SUQQU Holiday is focusing on the idea of snow. And so they're looking at a snow-covered world essentially. So we have a blue kit and a purple kit. And there are 3 pieces in each kit. This is how they come packaged. You do have all of the information on the back. Like always, these are going to be made in Japan. And when you open that up, we have the eyeshadow palette, a liquid eyeliner, one of the nuance eyeliners, and then this is going to be a cream or liquid blush. So let's go ahead and swatch all of these. So this is the eyeshadow palette 131 Rikka, and I think it is really pretty. Now, one thing to note, all 4 of the shades are shimmery. So we have kind of this soft, dusty rose with a sparkling white. There is going to be this really beautiful soft taupe. I love this shade. I would love to see this in a single version because it's just a beautiful shade. And then we have a blue. Now you can see that this blue here has touches of teal and there's a little bit of gray in there. I wouldn't say it's really, you can see where it comes out. It's not really a gray base to it, but you do have some hints of gray in there. So gray, teal, turquoise, they're kind of all mixed into this blue shade. Now the nuance eyeliners, these are one of my favorite liquid eyeliners. This one here is in shade 110. Now all 3 of these items here are limited edition and you can only get them when you purchase the kit. So they are not sold individually. You can see we can go to a very fine tip line. This is considered a smoky gray. So you can see a little bit of sparkle in here. This is not in the eyeliner. The eyeliner itself is matte, but I used this on top of the eyeshadow and a little sparkle got on the tip. So just something to note there, but you can see we have kind of this smoky gray shade here. There's a touch of blue in this, how grays can lean kind of more like a warmer brown gray versus a cooler blue gray. This definitely has a little bit more of that blue gray, but it's closer to a neutral gray. So pretty much smack dab in the middle, steel gray with just the tiniest smidge of blue in there. I think it's a really beautiful color. And then we also have a cream or liquid blush. So this is going to be, they're calling it the Dewy Liquid Blush. This is shade 101. And this is a new product, at least to me. So I'm going to go ahead and put this right here with the eyeliner. So you can see it is a liquid formula, but it's not going to be too runny. You can buff this out very softly. You can build it up, but honestly, this is about the deepest you can build it up. And I will show you in a demo how it looks built up on my cheeks as well. So let's move on to the demos and details. Now, starting with the eyeshadows, we're looking at some eye swatches here. I used the Sonia G Soft Shader for all of these. The eyeshadow palette, it has a 1-year shelf life. We have 6.2 grams of product. It's made in Japan. All 4 of these shades are going to be sparkly. So we start off with this soft pink. It's a little bit of a dusty rose, but not super dusty. And then the shimmer in here is actually more of like a champagne and silver sparkle. And then we have kind of this pearly white, which is going to have mostly white sparkle, but there is a little bit of champagne sparkle in here too. So it's not going to be overly cool. And then the taupe, I love this taupe. It's a really great balanced taupe. A true taupe has an equal balance of gray and brown in it. And this is pretty much smack dab, 50-50. So I think it's really gorgeous. Again, we do have some shimmer in here and Just like the others, we're looking at more of like a lighter, you know, white and champagne shimmer. The blue, as I mentioned, it's a really beautiful blue, but it's kind of like, you know, you've got a little bit of teal in there. It's still more blue than anything with green, but you do have a bit of that teal and a bit of gray kind of mixed in there. So you get kind of this smoky, I wouldn't even say turquoise, but this smoky blue. And the sparkle in here is going to be mostly blue with some white sparkle as well. So I think the shades here are really beautiful. They blend together nicely. The pink and the blue, you can mix them to get a little bit of a purple, but it's because the pink is so much lighter than the blue, you'd really need to use a lot more pink. So, you know, it's really, they blend nicely together, but you're not going to alter the shade to a true purple very easily. Now, the colors themselves, I have to say, I really like them. My favorite of these shades is definitely that taupe shade because it's one I would wear like every day. It's absolutely gorgeous. But I think, you know, all of the colors work together very nicely. You can create some really beautiful looks. And aside from the blue, they're all pretty soft in pigmentation. The taupe is more of a medium pigmentation. The blue is probably medium, I would say, as well. But the pink and the white are definitely going to be a lighter level of pigmentation there. So they're very soft. They're great mixers, you know, great for like highlighting and so forth. So overall, really beautiful palette. And, you know, for the holiday season, we've got sparkles all over. So definitely very festive. Now, while we're on the eye demos, looking at the Nuance eyeliner, I've used these Nuance eyeliners since they brought them out. This is shade number 110. We have 0.35 milliliters of product. It has a 6-month shelf life. I really like this one. It is a nice gray. You know, I feel like this should be a permanent shade in their collection. It's such a beautiful gray. I will compare this with, you know, some other SUQQU eyeliners. They do have a gray that is permanent. So we'll take a look at that. But I love, you know, kind of that little bit of steel blue edginess to it. I just think it's a gorgeous shade. As you can tell from the application, this is really easy to use. I'm terrible with liquid eyeliner. I'm terrible at doing wings, and it only gets worse as I get older. But these, you know, I feel like are so easy to use that that's one of the reasons I gravitate towards them. So we're looking at a felt tip brush, and you know, it's got the right length, the right width. I can just lay it on my lid and get that pigmentation where I want it. It glides seamlessly along the lid. Sometimes when you're using liquid eyeliners and you're going over shadow, it kind of gets like gunked up and it kind of skips. That doesn't happen with these, and that's one of the reasons I love the SUQQU eyeliners. You know, it really is always just a very smooth formula. Even as they get older, I haven't had issues with them getting, you know, to the point where they're like skipping or I have to constantly clean off the brush and so forth. Now, you could see that some of the sparkle was picked up, but none of the actual shadow really seems to move, so I'm okay with that. Now, let's move on to the blush. Oh, and I just wanted to jump back in real quickly and mention that I think this eyeshadow palette and the eyeliner go beautifully with the new Byredo mascara in Eroda Echo. I mean, look how well those shades kind of go together. This is more teal, but it looks beautiful with kind of the blue gray of this. And let me put it up here so you can see it with the eyeshadow palette. Again, we're looking at these 4 shades here. I just think it goes so beautifully with that. I think it's a great match. Now, as we are looking at the cheek demo here, we're looking at the SUQQU Liquid Blush. Again, I have shade 101. Now, this is going to be a dewy blush, but the pigmentation and so forth, I would say this actually gives you light pigmentation. You know, even when you build this up, I wouldn't even call it medium. So I feel like this blush is best for people with fair to light skin tones, and I feel like once you're medium and above, it's not really going to show up. Honestly, I kind of have to build it up a bit on my own skin, and that says something. As for the formula itself, it's dewy without having any sort of sheen, so it's more of like a moist type of product, you know, so it makes more like a moisturizer would be on your skin, you know, so it looks like it's well moisturized without having any sort of sheen or shine to it. It's not sticky. It melts into your skin. Honestly, once I have this like kind of buffed in, I don't feel it. Like I can't feel where that begins, where it ends. Even if I'm just tapping it on with my fingers, it kind of soaks into your skin. So I think it's a really nice formula in that sense, but I do think the color on here, you know, I like the peach color, but I wish it was more buildable than it actually is. It's definitely very, very sheer. I like the fact though that it doesn't have any sparkle in it whatsoever. Yeah, it's not a flat, dry looking matte either. So, you know, hopefully they'll expand this. They'll bring these out maybe in some deeper shades in the future. And I just want to share with you my lip combination for today because I am using one of the SUQQU Sheer Matte lipsticks. This is one of the ones in the permanent line. So this is number 13. And then I'm using the gloss that came out in the fall collection, which is number 106. So let's go ahead and just look at a couple swatches of that before we move on to comparisons. All right, so here's the Sheer Matte lipstick in 13. Now you can buy the caps for this. I don't have caps for everything. So this is how it comes with this little plastic piece, and that is actually sufficient. Now these are a sheer velvet, so you can see like one sheer layer is gonna do this. You get kind of that blurred effect, but if you build it up, you can get more pigmentation. So I thought this was a really nice kind of peachy shade. And it's not like a solid peach. There is some pink in here. It's more of like a salmon. And so I have that on lightly and I blotted that and topped it with the gloss in 106. I love these glosses from this fall collection because they do have some shimmer. And you can see this is going to be more of an orange. It's a soft orange. And, you know, you've got some shimmer in there. And I think it just mixes very beautifully with the lipsticks. All right, so before we move on, I do want to mention that this is actually not a fresh face of makeup. I have been wearing this for almost 7 hours already. So I'm just going to bring you in close so you can see how everything has performed. I have the Katie Jane Hughes highlight on, the SUQQU blush, eyeshadow, eyeliner, and then of course the lip combo we just discussed. So that's after almost 7 hours of makeup, and you know, the lips I redid, but everything else is exactly as it was after I applied it. Like I didn't do any touch-ups or anything. So let's go ahead and take a look at some other products. Let's start with the eyeliners and do a couple of comparisons. So again, this is number 110, and we had another sort of purpley gray shade that came out recently. This is 103. So this was also limited edition. You can see that this has more of a dusty purple vibe to it. And the more it sits on my skin, the more purple it looks. And this actually has a bit more brown in it. It's going to be a warmer purple. But as I mentioned, they do have a gray in the permanent range. And that is this one here, number 3. And so I put that right here at the bottom. And you can see this is softer, more of a dove gray. And yeah, definitely going to be a bit lighter. And yeah, it's also going to be a bit warmer because it doesn't have any of that like blue in it. It actually does have a little bit of brown, but not significant. It's still a pretty neutral gray. Now, as for the blush, I did want to bring up a few similar formulas. So these are the Surratt Artistique liquid blushes. I personally haven't really loved these. This is kind of dry on the top. Let me fix that. All right, so here is a fresh swatch. This one here is the shade Parfait, which, you know, I feel like in the powder version, it has more pink in it than it does in the liquid version. But I feel like the Surratt formula is slightly thinner, but it has a very similar effect on the skin. There's a little bit more of like a shimmer effect though with the Surratt, but I just mean the way that it kind of melts into the skin. I also wanted to take a look at this one here, which is the shade Cantaloupe. And all right, so here is Cantaloupe. So this one's gonna be a little bit more orangey. These also really get pretty sheer. You can build these up though. You can see that the level of pigmentation at the deepest is going to be, you know, definitely deeper than the SUQQU. You can see the SUQQU is kind of in between those two shades. So let me just do another swatch of the SUQQU. Ooh, a lot came out that time. I'm going to do a vertical swatch here so we can kind of see. You can see it's definitely got more pink, and you know, it's a really pretty shade. So it's pink, but it's like a peachy pink. And so when you build it up, at first it looks a little bit cooler, but it does kind of dry down to a bit more of a peachy vibe that you can see here. And I wanted to compare it to the Chantecaille. These are the cheek gelées. This is the shade Happy, which this is gonna have more of a pearlescent finish, but it's also gonna be very light on the skin, like the SUQQU. So I do think the Chantecaille, you can get even more pigmentation with that. But another one I wanted to look at, this is Creamy Coral from Bobbi Brown. And I like these, but these are definitely going to be more pigmented options. These you can see, you know, it's going the opposite way. You know, you've got lots of pigmentation. If you want a lighter shade, you need to use it more sparingly. You can see that's going to be more of an orangey or coral shade. And then this is the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk one. This is the shade Pillow Talk, and this is the matte one. Let's see. Oh, forgot to open the tube here. Let's see here. So color-wise, you can see that the Charlotte Tilbury is going to be deeper. It's also going to be a bit more of a mauve shade. But it does feel similar on the skin. I actually feel like there's a little bit more of a silicone texture to the Charlotte Tilbury in comparison with the SUQQU. The SUQQU, again, really feels more like a lightweight moisturizer you'd put on. And yeah, so I don't have anything exactly the same shade, but those are formulas that I feel are similar. Moving on to some comparisons of the eyeshadow palette, I wanted to start off with a couple singles and to kind of look at that taupe. So this is the Chantecaille in Elephant, and let's see here. That here, and then let me get the SUQQU shade actually and put that kind of right in between here. We're going to look at two of my favorite taupes, the Chantecaille Elephant, which is up here. Here's the SUQQU, and then also the YSL. This is in Unconforming Taupe, number 28. This came out for holiday last year. You can see that Unconforming Taupe has more gray, Chantecaille has more brown. This is kind of in the middle, and it's going to be a little bit lighter than those, but I just think it's a really great option. So those are a couple of my favorite taupes, but I also want to take a look at this blue shade from the SUQQU. Now the white and the pink, I feel like, you know, we've got white and pink kind of everywhere. So I want to focus more on the blue because that's what makes this palette unique. So the first thing I wanted to look at is the Cle de Peau blue palette. And let's just go ahead and swatch these shades here. We've got kind of a light pale blue, more of a teal, and then there is more of a navy. And you can see that these two mixed, let's go ahead and mix them right now actually. So you can see when you layer them, you get very similar color to that SUQQU shade. So I think that's actually a really good, you know, kind of dupe essentially. I'm going to go ahead and just lengthen this SUQQU line here. And we're going to look at some SUQQU palettes that have had blues as well. So this is the new 131 Rikka. This one is the first one that came to mind though. This is 119. So this was limited edition as well. We're just going to look at the blue shade, and we'll look at this brown shade here as well. So here's the brown. Let me go ahead and put it right next to the brown in this new one. You can see this is deeper. It's going to be warmer. You know, there's more red in it, and it's not going to be a shimmery shade. Now the blues, you can see we have a very light blue topper, and then this is going to have a bit more navy in it than the new SUQQU shade. And then again, 131 Rikka, this is number 11. This is in the permanent line. So I'm going to use my other arm, and we're going to swatch both of these palettes together so you can kind of see, you know, how they line up, because it is a good option, although they're not going to be the same. It's a good option for something that is more easily available. So right here, I'm doing the swatches of the 131. And now I'm going to put these here with it. And let's try to, we're not going to go in order. We're going to match the colors. So first we have kind of a champagne shade versus the white. And then this is the blue. You can see it's going to be lighter, a little bit more gray. Then we have a pink, which is going to be a bit deeper, and then a brown. And you can see that's going to be deeper as well. It's also matte. So it's the pink is actually a satin, the blue is a satin, and then we have shimmer here, whereas all of these are shimmers in the 131. So those are those two palettes together. So again, 131 on the top and 11 at the bottom. And one more set of comparisons, 131, this is 109. So this was holiday a couple years ago. And these are going to be dustier versions. I'm just going to go swatch these vertically so we don't mix those up there. But we have kind of a similar, you know, we've got the blue gray. We have more of this, like, it's more of a coppery shade than a pink shade here. And then we also have a brown. So it's still, although it's very different in appearance, it still has kind of a similar color story in the types of colors that they're using here. But I did want to show you how different those are. So let's go ahead and move on to the Katie Jane Hughes. And Katie Jane Hughes, if you're not familiar with her, she is a pretty famous makeup artist. And she, you know, has actually just created her own line called KJH Brand. And she released a highlight kit. She's known for her really dewy highlight type, highlight focused makeup. So very dewy skin, kind of that wet look. And that's really what she is, you know, kind of, that's kind of what she became famous for, in my opinion. So there are 4 different shades. These are the pigments here. So you can only buy these as a set, and there are 3 pieces in the set. You get this pigment. So this one here is light pink. I'm going to put this one on my hand here so you can see that. And you can see it's a really beautiful soft pink shade. It's a pretty neutral pink. You've got high shine there. You got a bit of a pearly finish. Then you also get this Hyper Shine Serum. This is clear, and this comes with all of the kits. So I'm just going to squeeze some on my hand here. So it's just kind of a squeeze tube. Looks like an oversized lip balm. And this is just your shine serum. So this is, you know, it's not tacky per se, but once you kind of, you know, spread it out and shear it out, there is a little bit of tackiness to this. It does not 100% set down. So you've got that. Now you can use either of these products on their own, but one of the ways that she demonstrates quite frequently, at least on Instagram, is taking a drop of this and you put it in the pigment and use the brush, and then you apply it this way, and this will give you kind of best of both worlds. So I'm going to use my finger to get a better swatch there, but you can see it's going to be a shinier version. You also have, it also dilutes the pink just a little bit, but you get much higher shine. So, you know, this is going to be a really brilliant highlight. So let's look at the demos here. So as we're looking at the demo here, so I did the one side with just the pigment with my finger to kind of show you how that goes. And you can see it's kind of blinding already, but if you want it even more intense, mixing it with the Hyper Shine Serum really makes it even more brilliant. So it does hold up throughout the day. You know, you could see in my little update here, as I said, it's been about 7 hours, and this is what the highlighter looks like on my skin now. I actually have both sides with the mix of the serum and the pigment. And yeah, so we have 4 different shades here. There is the pink, a light gold, light copper, and a light bronze. and they retail for 75 US dollars. As I mentioned, it only comes available as the set. So you would get the serum, the pigment, and the brush. Now, according to the KJH website, it's a customizable product that gives you the power to create the perfect luminous glow for your complexion, suited to illuminate all complexions with its buildable and blendable formula. It delivers incredible luminosity and was created as a mixing medium to be used with the pigments or on its own. That's the serum. The #1 brush serves as a perfect application tool for these cream and liquid formulas. And again, it was designed by celebrity makeup artist Katie Jane Hughes, so that you could tailor your glow to your desired level of illumination. And I think it's a really beautiful product. Now, as for a few details on this, the pigment has a 6-month shelf life. It's made in Canada. We have 5 grams of product there. The serum is also 6 months, made in Canada. We have 15.2 grams of product. And the brush is synthetic. Now, the Katie Jane Hughes, you might have seen, I actually have her brush set, but she did a brush set with Spectrum before. So it's a Katie Jane Hughes and Spectrum brush collection. I just wanted to show you a couple of her brushes from her Spectrum collection and how it compares to this one here. So this is KJH Brand #1. You can see she went with more of an aqua green, kind of like a, you know, I'm not even, it's like a sea green with a little bit of aqua mixed in versus the olive green for her Spectrum collection. Now, I wanted to compare these because you can see that this brush here, which is #8, is similar in size to the #1, but we have the shape of the #5 brush. So that's kind of, you know, if you have her collection, you've been curious about how this fits in, it's kind of in between these two brushes. Now, so as for some comparisons here, the Shine Serum, you know, it's going to be a high shine serum. You know, you can find similar types of clear highlighting products pretty easily, but I did want to compare the pink shade here. This is the Tom Ford Rose Irisé. You can see it's going to be a very similar shade. The Tom Ford is just a little bit cooler in tone than the Katie Jane Hughes. This is the Surratt Torche Lumiere in Rose Diamante. And actually, I'm going to put some on my finger for this so I can get it in the right spot for a swatch. So that's up here. And you can see, let me try rubbing more of this on. It is going to be a little bit lighter. The Surratt is actually going to be a little bit cooler in tone as well, but they're honestly pretty close. It's just that, you know, this is not going to be as blinding as the Katie Jane Hughes. And the Katie Jane Hughes is very brilliant without being glittery. So that's something to note. The Surratt actually does have a little bit of shimmer in it. So the Katie Jane Hughes, the pigment on itself has more of a metallic finish without any actual sparkle. And this is the new Givenchy liquid highlighter in the shade Rose. So I wanted to see how this one compared here. And let's see here. I'm going to put this kind of right there. So it is right here. This one that's, you can see the liquid. So you can see that the Givenchy, also similar in color, it is slightly milkier, like a little bit more like white base in the pink versus the Katie Jane Hughes. So it's a little bit more of like a petal pink, but they're very close. And, you know, I think they're both great products, little different, but yeah, those are just some similar items there. So my overall thoughts on everything, I would have to say, you know, the SUQQU holiday kit, I think it is a great set. I love the eyeliner. I love the eyeshadow. I like the formula of the liquid blush, but honestly, I'm not ecstatic about the level of pigmentation. It works for me, but I think it's not going to work for most people. I wish it was more buildable than it actually is. So, you know, that's kind of my feedback on that kit, but I do think it's a gorgeous kit. I love the eyeshadow palette. I really love the eyeliner. I wish they sold those separately. I wish the eyeliner was a permanent shade. As for the Katie Jane Hughes set, I think it's a really nice highlighter set. So $75, it's a little steep for, you know, considering if you wanted to rebuy it, perhaps you don't need another brush and so forth. Perhaps in the future, she'll be selling these items individually. I have no idea, but I think it's a really nice set. As for the Katie Jane Hughes highlighter, I think it's a really nice highlighter. I really like the system. I do wish that there were some different sale options here. So, you know, I would have loved to pick up another color of the pigment, but I didn't want to purchase a whole nother set. And people who want like refills and so forth, you know, you're not going to need another brush. So perhaps she'll be selling these things individually later, but right now you can only purchase them as a set. So I stuck with one just because you know, the only thing that's different between the sets is the pigment color. So yeah, you know, I think it's really nice. I love how, you know, the serum is designed to be used in the pigment, like actually in the container. You don't always have to separate. Makes it a little bit easier in my opinion. I think it's gorgeous. Honestly, I will probably use it mostly just straight up pigment because I don't go for the more brilliant highlighters too frequently, but I love having that option. And this Shine Serum itself, once you kind of blend it out, yes, you're still gonna have a little bit of tackiness, but it's not over the top. If you truly don't spread it out, you're gonna get some tackiness, but and then your hair might stick to it. But if you are actually shearing this out with the brush on your skin, it's really not going to be anything. Like I can feel a little bit where it is, but it's blended out so much, it's sunk into my skin over the time that it's really, you know, it's nothing like my hair is going to stick to it or anything like that. So, you know, I think it's a good formula. And yeah, I'd be happy to try more of these items. But again, I do hope that they sell them individually in the future. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know what you think. I am definitely hoping to purchase the purple SUQQU kit as well. So hopefully I'll be able to get that. I do think it's going to sell pretty quickly. These are going to launch Thursday the 16th, which really means Wednesday here in the US. So they will be launching all at the same time at Selfridges, Selfridges, Cult Beauty, London, Liberty London, and Harrods. So all of those retailers will have them then. What we see online though isn't always, you know, accurate. Sometimes they sell things more in the store versus online and so forth. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye out. So if you're interested in purchasing one of these SUQQU kits, definitely follow me on Instagram. I'm at Alexis Jong on Instagram, and I will be paying attention to my stories because as soon as it goes live that I see it, I will be posting it. So, you know, I'm hoping to pick up the purple set right away, and I know I'm gonna have to be fast. So definitely follow me and pay attention to my stories if you're looking for one of those. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks so much for watching.